Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going deep on something I think a lot of us struggle with, how to support loved ones with mental health challenges.
Oh, for sure.
We've got this amazing guide we're going to really dig into today and try to pull out the most helpful advice so you can actually make a difference in the lives of people you care about.
Yeah.
I was looking through this guide earlier, and one thing that really stood out to me was just how big a difference something as simple as offering to pick up groceries can be for someone struggling.
Mm. It really is amazing. We really do underestimate those small acts of service. And this guide really gets into the research behind that, too.
Oh, that's cool.
It shows how giving practical support can reduce stress and give someone the space to actually, if will focus on themselves and getting better.
Right. So, okay, let's dive into this. The guide starts by talking about just understanding mental health generally, the common conditions and what those look like day to day.
Mm.
It covers, the basics like depression, anxiety disorders, PTSD, bipolar disorder, even touches on schizophrenia. But it's interesting because it goes beyond just listing off symptoms.
Right. What's fascinating here is that it focuses on understanding the impact these conditions have, not just on the person, but on their friends and family as well.
Oh, I see.
So, for example, it talks about how someone with severe anxiety might isolate themselves, making it even harder for those who care about them to connect.
Right. Which makes it even harder for them to reach out and get help.
Exactly.
Which brings us to this whole thing about stigma, which is something the guide really tackles head on. I think we all know mental health is still so often, kind of hidden away. People are afraid to talk about it because of judgment or just misconception.
Absolutely. The guide even has this really great quote from Olivia Wilde.
Oh, yeah.
It says, mental health awareness doesn't mean we all have to become experts.
Yeah.
It just means we have to be a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more understanding, and a little bit more kind.
I love that.
It's really a call for empathy. Even if we don't fully get what someone's going through, we can still just, be kind.
Totally. So true. And it's perfect because it leads right into the next section of the guide, which is about the power of empathy and compassion. It's like before we even get to, specific strategies, the guide really emphasizes the importance of just being there.
Right. And it makes this point, which is so important, that simply being present, listening without judgment, and validating how someone feels is way more helpful than, giving advice or trying to fix things.
Oh my gosh, it's so hard not to.
I know. But we all do it.
We do. We want to fix everything. But sometimes the best thing we can do is just listen and, acknowledge their pain.
Right. And it actually quotes Jim Rohn in this section. He said, the greatest gift you can give someone is your time, your attention, and your presence. Just knowing you're there for them without judgment can be so powerful.
So true. No, I think a lot of us listening are probably thinking, okay, at what point does it go from, just offering support to needing professional help? Like, where's the line?
That's such a good question. And the guide talks about that directly. It says that while support from friends and family is so important, we're not therapists. And sometimes professional help is just necessary.
Right.
Therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, they have the knowledge and the skills to actually diagnose, to make treatment plans and offer a level of support that we just can't.
So how can we help our loved ones actually take that step to get help? I mean, it can be really overwhelming, especially when you're already struggling.
Well, the guide has a bunch of super helpful advice. Like it says to start with research. Find therapists in your area.
Right.
You can use online directories, ask their doctor for a recommendation, or even call a mental health organization. They usually have lists of providers.
Okay, so we found some names. What next? Do we just, hand over the list and say, good luck?
Definitely not. The guide says that involving the person every step of the way is really important.
Oh, okay, I see.
Like empowering them to make their own decisions about treatment instead of telling them what to do.
So like maybe look at the list together or talk about the pros and cons of each therapist.
Exactly. Or you could even practice making the phone call with them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Those small things can make a huge difference. Like even offering to go to that first appointment can help reduce their anxiety.
Right. That makes sense. There's a quote from Nathaniel Branden in here that I really like. It says, the first step towards change is awareness. The second step is acceptance. I think that really perfectly sums up the process, of admitting you need help and then being brave enough to get it.
And remember, supporting someone with mental health issues, it's a marathon, not a sprint. There will be ups and downs and setbacks and breakthroughs. Your presence and encouragement through it all makes a huge difference.
Okay, so we talked about understanding these conditions, the power of empathy, and encouraging people to seek professional help. Now I'm interested in the more practical, everyday stuff. This is where the guide gets really interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
Well, it's more than just saying, let me know if you need anything. It actually suggests, concrete things you can do, like offering to help with grocery shopping or cooking meals or even laundry and cleaning.
What I think is cool is that it talks about the connection between practical help and stress. When someone is really struggling, mentally, even these everyday things can feel impossible.
Right.
So taking those off their plate, you're not just helping them out, you're giving them the chance to actually focus on their mental health.
Right. It's like taking the mental load off, even if it's just for a little bit.
Exactly. And it contributes to creating this safe space where they can feel okay opening up and sharing what's going on.
And that's something the guide specifically talks about, the importance of creating that safe space. But it takes it a step further and talks about active listening, which honestly is something I need to work on.
Me too. Active listening is more than just hearing the words. It's about really understanding and validating the feelings behind them. Like eye contact, paraphrasing what they said, asking open-ended questions and not interrupting or giving advice.
Okay, active listening added to the list. It sounds easy, but I can see how it takes effort.
It really does. But the guide has this great quote about it. It says, "The greatest gift you can give someone is your ears to listen without judgment, to listen with an open heart."
I love that.
It's such a simple but powerful reminder that sometimes just being present and listening is the best thing we can do.
Okay, so much good stuff already. And I have a feeling there's more.
Well, there's definitely more.
Yeah.
Like how to handle really tough situations and building a support system, not just for them, but for ourselves as well.
So much to cover.
Yeah.
Maybe we should take a quick break and then come back and dive into all that in part 2.
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
Before the break, you mentioned that active listening thing really got you thinking.
It did. I was just remembering this time when a friend was going through a lot with anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
And I really wanted to be there for them, but I felt so lost. Like, I didn't know what to say or what to do. I was so scared of making things worse,
Oh, absolutely. I think we've all been there.
Yeah, wanting to help, but feeling like, paralyzed.
Right.
I remember feeling so overwhelmed, and then I thought about the support group that my therapist had mentioned.
Oh, wow.
It was specifically for, friends and family of people with anxiety disorders. I was a little hesitant at first, but I finally went, and
Well, good for you.
it was amazing. I met all these people who totally got it,
Yeah.
We shared stories and tips, and honestly, just having that space to vent and feel heard was so helpful.
It sounds like that support group really showed you the power of community.
It did.
And that's something this guide talks about, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, building a support network is so important, not just for the person going through it, but for their loved ones, too.
Absolutely. And it really showed me that asking for help is a good thing,
Right.
whether it's for yourself or someone you care about. Which reminds me of another thing from the guide. You know what to do when things get really serious.
Yeah.
Like recognizing the signs of a mental health crisis and knowing what to do, that seems really important.
It is, and it's something the guide addresses directly. It's important to remember that while we can offer support for everyday challenges,
Right.
we're not equipped to handle every situation.
Right.
So being able to spot the signs of a crisis is really crucial.
Like what kinds of things?
Well, things like extreme changes in mood or behavior, increased agitation, withdrawing from things they usually enjoy, even talking about self-harm or suicidal thoughts.
Okay, that's intense. What are we supposed to do if we see those signs?
Well, the guide has some really helpful tips.
Okay.
The first thing is to stay calm
Okay.
because, when someone is in crisis, they're probably feeling out of control.
Yeah.
So if you stay calm, it can actually help de-escalate the situation.
Okay. Stay calm. Got it. What else?
The guide also suggests using calming language and avoiding confrontation and encouraging them to do things like take deep breaths or try grounding techniques.
Grounding techniques. I've heard of those, but I don't really know what they are.
Oh, yeah, sure. So one common technique is called the 5-4-3-2-1 method.
Yep.
You basically ask the person to name 5 things. They can see 4 things, they can touch 3 things, they can hear 2 things they can smell, and 1 thing they can taste.
Wow.
It helps bring their attention to the present moment and kind of shift their focus away from those really intense thoughts and feelings.
That's really interesting, like a mental reset button.
Exactly. And it can be super helpful for someone who's on the verge of, a panic attack or an emotional breakdown.
But I imagine it's also important to know when to call for help, right?
Oh, absolutely. The guide is very clear about that.
Okay.
If you feel like someone is in immediate danger or could hurt themselves or someone else,
Right.
you need to call 911 or a mental health professional right away.
Don't wait.
Don't hesitate. Trust your gut and get help.
It sounds like a lot to handle, staying calm, thinking clearly, and knowing when to get help.
It is.
Right.
But remember, you don't have to be a superhero to be supportive. In those really intense moments, don't forget to take care of yourself.
That's so important.
Things like meditation or journaling or reaching out to your own support system can help you stay grounded and deal with whatever comes up.
Right. It's like they say you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
If we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't really take care of anyone else.
And the guide quotes William James here.
Oh, really?
He said, "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another."
I like that.
It's a powerful reminder that we have more control over our reactions than we think.
So true. And speaking of positive thinking, I love that the guide talks about celebrating progress,
Yes.
even small victories along the way. I think that's so important.
It is, because it's so easy to get caught up in the negative,
Right.
But celebrating those moments of growth, even the tiny ones, can really help someone feel motivated and empowered.
Yeah.
The guide talks about the power of positive reinforcement. Like praising their efforts, celebrating their achievements, even incorporating positive feedback into everyday routines.
So if someone is struggling with depression and they manage to get out of bed and take a shower,
Yes.
that's a huge win.
Exactly. It's about recognizing their efforts and their progress, not just focusing on the end goal.
Right. There's a quote in here I really like.
Oh, yeah.
It says, "The journey of recovery is paved with small steps, each one worthy of celebration."
It's beautiful.
It is. It reminds us that recovery isn't always a straight line.
Right.
There will be ups and downs and setbacks, but celebrating those wins, no matter how small, can really make a difference.
So true. Now, I'm curious, what are your thoughts?
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the biggest takeaway for me is just how much our well-being is all connected. Supporting someone with mental health challenges isn't just about them. It impacts everyone around them.
Yeah, it's like creating this ripple effect of empathy and kindness.
Right. And the guide really gives us the tools to actually do that.
But God,
From simple acts of service to, really listening and celebrating those small victories. There's so much good advice in here.
and it makes you realize that taking care of yourself isn't selfish.
Totally.
It's actually essential.
Yeah,
We have to fill our own cups before we can really be there for others.
100%. And it also reminded me how important it is to have my own support system.
Oh, for sure.
It's not a one-person job.
Right.
We need our people too, so we can be strong for the people we care about.
Exactly.
This whole deep dive has honestly given me a new perspective.
That's great.
I feel so much more prepared to support my loved ones. And you know what? It's even helped me feel more comfortable reaching out for help myself.
That's awesome. That's really what we hope people take away from this.
Yeah.
That they're not alone. There's help out there,
Yeah.
directories, support groups, professionals. It's a good thing to reach out,
It is.
whether it's for yourself or for someone you care about.
So to everyone listening, you don't have to be a therapist to make a difference.
Right.
Even small acts of kindness and understanding can mean the world to someone who's struggling.
Let me leave you with this. What's one small thing you can do today to show your support? A text, a phone call, just listening to someone. Even the smallest gesture can have a huge impact.
That's a great point. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Of course.
Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.